After retirement, the majority of seniors have a sense of disorientation. However, these 8 routines, which are performed daily and weekly, help them rediscover their sense of purpose. When you retired, did you ever have a sense of disorientation? As if your days had suddenly been devoid of any purpose? Rather of feeling like independence, retirement is more like floating in a peculiar type of silence for many people who are in their senior years. No longer exists the structure. The identity that had been developed over the course of decades was lost. At this point, the calendar, which was formerly completely full, is largely empty, and despite the fact that relaxation was long overdue, there is still something feeling odd. Is this actually the end of the road? Perhaps you've even found yourself wondering about it. But let me tell you something. This is not how all senior citizens feel. Some retirees experience a resurgence of vitality in ways that they could never have imagined. And it is not wealth, good fortune, or even good health that sets them apart from the rest of a group. It's the little things that they do a lot, with a consistent and deliberate effort. It transforms each day into something that has significance. In this video, we are going to go over 8 effective behaviors that can assist elderly citizens in avoiding the feelings of isolation, perplexity, and emotional drift that so frequently come about after retirement. To put it simply, they are not major, complicated life changes. Bringing purpose, rhythm, and connection back into your days can be accomplished via the implementation of these straightforward and practical measures. Even if you have been feeling a little confused, I encourage you to stick around until the very end, since we are not simply going to give some ideas. In this section, we will delve deeply into the psychological underpinnings of why these operate and how each one might assist you in re-establishing your sense of self. One moment at a time, each one calm and powerful. It's time to get started. Establishing a regular morning routine is the first step. Whether a retired person is experiencing feelings of disorientation can be inferred from the manner in which they start their day. It may appear to be a trivial matter, but establishing a consistent and reliable morning routine can have a significant impact on one's mental state. The message conveyed to your brain is that I still have somewhere to be. It is still something that I need to do. And just that one message has the power to completely transform your day. It is not necessary to have a lengthy checklist or a complicated schedule. Simply getting up at the same time every morning, making your bed, extending your legs, and sitting down with a cup of coffee in the same sunny position can be all that is required to achieve this elusive state of mind. This is not merely a routine, rather, it is rhythm. Moreover, rhythm is something that the majority of individuals lose when they quit working. When each day repeats itself, the mind begins to wander and become distracted. This is the point at which boredom transforms into something more serious, such as sadness or a sense of disorientation regarding one's place in the world. It is a phenomenon known as cognitive anchoring that is responsible for the psychological force that routines possess. It gives you a sense of stability. Your day will have a beginning as a result, which will make it much simpler for you to move forward towards your goals. It is for this reason that famous artists, athletes, and veterans of the armed forces frequently swear by their morning routines. The reason for this is that regularity generates momentum, and momentum is what gives meaning back. The name Harold was familiar to me. His retirement from his second profession came when he was 79 years old. At first, he made the most of his independence. There are no time limits or alarm clocks. On the other hand, within a short period of time, he began to skip breakfast, sleep in later than usual, and immediately turn on the television as soon as he woke up. Despite the fact that there was nothing wrong on the surface, he gradually began to get a dull feeling. After that, he made the decision to experiment with something new one day. At 7 o'clock in the morning, he started shaving, getting dressed, and went for a 15-minute stroll around the block. He repeated this routine every day. Nothing was the same after that one simple modification. He told me that I no longer really feel like I'm retired. I simply have a sense of freedom with regard to direction. Put yourself in that position if you have been waking up without a plan. Determine 2 or 3 activities that you will carry out every morning. There is something that is both physical and relaxing, as well as something that indicates the beginning of the day. Not having a cause to do it is not necessary. The reason for this is the routine, which, over the course of time, transforms into the framework that supports the rest of your life. The second suggestion is a new identity or role. After retirement, one of the most common emotional challenges that people face is the unexpected loss of their identity. It's possible that for many years, your identity was inextricably linked to the things that you did. An educator, an engineer, a nurse, a business owner, or a constructor. And when that title is no longer in use, it is not only the position that is no longer available. In the morning, it is the talks, the feeling of importance, and the purpose to get dressed that are the most important. The people who are successful after retirement, on the other hand, do not just abandon their previous roles. It is replaced with something that is brand new. The beginning of a new career or the making of a significant announcement are not necessary prerequisites for taking on a new function. To put it simply, it means redefining yourself in a manner that has a sense of significance. Perhaps you end up becoming the neighborhood's go-to fixer-upper. For example, you might begin to refer to yourself as a gardener, a writer, a guide for your grandchildren, or the one who keeps the family's memories. It is not necessary for the title to be particularly impressive. Just make sure that it feels genuine to you. Identity is something that humans need psychologically. It contributes to the formation of our sense of purpose and belonging. Without it, days tend to run together, and one's sense of self-worth might gradually diminish. Once you give yourself permission to accept a new identity, however, your brain will begin to construct structure around the new identity immediately. Various inquiries start to come out of your mouth. If you were a woodworker, what would you do with this weekend? What activities would a person who volunteers in the community do in the morning? Questions like these lead to action, and action brings clarity back into the picture. I recall having a conversation with a woman. Her name was Nancy, and she was 72 years old. She had spent the majority of her life working as a counselor in high school. Following her retirement, she experienced a profound sense of disorientation. After assisting a friend who was going through a difficult moment, she came to the realization that she still has the ability to listen. In order to meet other ladies who lived in her apartment complex, she began holding events that she referred to as coffee chats. This is nothing more than a casual get-together to discuss the highs and lows of life. As far as she is aware, I am still a counselor even though I am no longer employed. Unfortunately, I no longer have access to the office. Everything altered as a result of that change in how she perceived herself. Her self-assurance returned. Her schedule began to fill up, and the people in her immediate environment started to reflect back that sense of value because she was the one who initially believed it had value. If you have been experiencing feelings of being a previous version of yourself, or if you feel as though you are caught in the middle, you might want to consider selecting a new name for this stage of your life. You should give yourself a name, even if no one else does at first. You should nevertheless assert your claim. It is not about what you have lost that determines your identity, rather, it is about what you are constructing right now. I would appreciate it if you could use the second comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Now, let's proceed with our plans. The third and last point is getting back in touch with former interests or passions. One more characteristic that distinguishes seniors who do not have feelings of disorientation after retirement is that they rediscover something that they used to enjoy but may have put aside for a number of years. Passion is not something that fades away with age. It just becomes buried behind the noise of daily life, which includes schedules, duties, and other obligations. On the other hand, When the distractions are removed and the pressure to perform is removed, what is left behind is a peaceful opportunity to take up where you left off. A lot of individuals believe that after they retire, they should look for a new pastime to pursue. However, the truth is that the ones that are the best are frequently the ones who have been around the longest. The things that, when you were younger, gave you a sense of vitality and excitement. The activities that caused time to vanish from existence. Writing poems that you never showed anyone. Working with wood, and tinkering with automobiles are all examples. This is not merely a leisure activity. These windows provide a glimpse into the person you have always been. In the field of psychology, the phenomenon known as retrieval-induced emotion is triggered when one reconnects with previous interests. In other words, when you engage in something that is known to you from the past, it brings up old, happy feelings that strengthen your current sense of identity and delight. It is more than just a harmless pastime. Emotional rehabilitation is the goal here. You not only remember how to perform a certain action, but you also remember how it made you feel. You will experience a return of warmth, clarity, and passion in your life as a result of this emotion. I once had the pleasure of meeting a man named Roger, who is now 76 years old and used to be a member of a local blues group when he was in his 20s. After beginning a family and working in the logistics industry for several decades, that harmonica was left in a drawer without being played. It was on a peaceful winter evening 5 years after he had retired that he decided to pick it up again. It initially felt awkward, but his hands remembered what they had done. In a few weeks, he was back on the field at the senior center just a short distance away. According to what he said, I had the impression that that aspect of myself had disappeared. It was only waiting for the right moment. In many cases, all that is required is a small amount of interest, a gently prod, and an hour of silence. And one of the most wonderful things about retirement is that it finally gives you the freedom to pursue your interest without feeling any pressure. It is not necessary for you to be skilled in it. You only need to take pleasure in it. It is not necessary for you to transform it into anything utilizable. You only need to allow it to serve as a reminder that you are more than a resume or a position that you have previously had. Try thinking about hobbies in categories if you find that you are unable to think of one right away. When you were younger, what did you do with your hands? What did you do for fun before your life became too hectic for you to enjoy? What activities did you stop doing not because you did not enjoy them, but rather because you felt that you needed to focus on something else? When you are able to re-establish a connection with that aspect of yourself, an intriguing event takes place. The days no longer have the same sense of emptiness, due to the fact that they are now stuffed with fragments of the genuine you. It was the bits that never became boring, they simply became quiet. The fourth point is to maintain a purposeful level of physical activity. After retirement, one of the most common mistakes that people make is to slow down their pace of life a little bit too excessively. Furthermore, it is not only about one's bodily health. There is a connection between energy, lucidity, and emotional steadiness. Those retirees who are lifting weights or running marathons are not necessarily the ones who are experiencing a sense of being grounded and totally alive. In other words, they are the ones that move their bodies with purpose, in ways that have a sense of significance, consistency, and connection to life. A significant change takes place within the brain as a result of physical activity. Dopamine and serotonin are two examples of hormones that are associated with happiness, focus, and motivation. It helps control these hormones. As an additional benefit, it enhances sleep, which is one of the first things that is interrupted when your daily routine is no longer in place. On top of that, regular movement communicates to your nervous system that you are still present, that you are still actively engaged, and that you are still making the conscious decision to take part in life rather than merely observe it. Not the intensity of the situation. The issue is one of purpose. Some elderly people go for a morning stroll with their dog and stop to talk to their neighbors along the way. Others sign up for a Tai Chi class at the community center in their neighborhood. Some people choose to tend to their gardens. rake the leaves, or dance gently in the living room while listening to music from the past on a low volume. These are not exercises at all. It's a sort of ritual. And rituals are what create rhythm. The psychological principle that movement and mind are closely intertwined is referred to as embodied cognition. There is also something else that is known as embodied cognition. To put it another way, when you move your body with intention, your mind automatically becomes more clear. You are able to process better. You are a better reflector. You have a better feeling. Please allow me to tell you about Patricia. She is 81 years old, bereaved, and lives by herself in a peaceful suburb. For a period of time following the death of her husband, she remained inside, hardly moved, and observed the changing of the seasons through the window. On a morning in the spring, she decided to join a walking group that was held at the local church. In neither a competitive nor a fast-paced manner, there was just a group of 5 women who traversed the neighborhood on 3 separate occasions per week. Observable was the shift in her mood that took place. Her voice became more aggressive. The confidence in her steps increased. I used to have the impression that the globe was getting smaller every day. She added, I have the sensation that I am once again a part of it. Not only that, but movement accomplishes just that. You are drawn back into the involvement process. It transmits the message that your legs are still required. You are still important. And your presence is still important. Your heart is still important. You could try moving with purpose if you are experiencing feelings of disconnection or a lack of vitality. Something modest and consistent is called for. A change in your chemistry might start to take place as soon as you spend even 10 minutes outside, taking in the fresh air and stretching your limbs. In the way that you think, the way that you sleep, and the way that you connect with other people, you will notice it, mainly due to the fact that motion generates momentum. And momentum means something. I would appreciate it if you could use the 4th comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Now, let's proceed with our plans. The cultivation of one-on-one connections comes up at number 5. Once you reach retirement age, one of the most surprising changes that occurs is the reduction in the size of your social circle. It is very uncommon for many people to go days or even weeks without engaging in meaningful discussion since they do not have the opportunity to communicate with others on the job. Retirees who place a higher value on depth than frequency are the ones who are able to avoid becoming disoriented in the prevailing silence. What they do is more than just socialize, they connect. If you want to be successful, it is not about being the most extroverted person in the room or about packing your schedule with activities. The key is to keep up genuine one-on-one talks that give you the impression that you are being noticed and heard. It doesn't matter if it's a phone call with an old friend, a lengthy conversation over coffee with a neighbor, or a stroll around the block with someone who listens more than they say. The silent exchanges are what replenish your emotional tank. From a psychological point of view, a profound interpersonal connection stimulates regions of the brain that are associated with the control of emotions and the experience of rewards. It helps protect memory and cognitive function as you age, reduces stress, and promotes resilience, all of which are benefits of this practice. When you feel linked to others, you experience a sense of vitality. A man by the name of Joe comes to mind. He had been retired for about a decade and was 74 years old at the time. When I asked him how he managed to maintain such a constant emotional state, he responded by saying that he calls his old fishing partner from Ohio every Wednesday. We discuss everything and nothing at the same time. This one phone call helps me stay grounded throughout the entire week. And that's it. One interaction that adds significance. Not obnoxious, not ostentatious, but simply genuine. The fact of the matter is that you do not require a large number of people. Consistency is vital for you. A handful of relationships that you tend to on a regular basis. People who are familiar with your tales and are still interested in hearing them again. Those individuals who allow you to pause in the middle of a sentence and continue when you are ready to do so. Being in that kind of presence is really unusual and valuable. Feeling disconnected is something that many people experience. However, it is likely that there is someone out there who adores hearing your voice just as much as you like hearing theirs. Begin with a single individual. A talk that is very honest. A sibling, a relative, a neighbor, or even someone you haven't talked to in years could be the person you are talking to. Getting rid of loneliness overnight is not the objective here. With each passing minute, the goal is to re-establish the connection. Additionally, there are situations when you are the one who initiates the initial contact. Volunteering or acting in a small capacity is the sixth recommendation. The way in which seniors relate to other people is a significant factor that differentiates those who are disoriented from those who are content with their lives. Not in terms of what they get, but rather in terms of what they give and receive. Assisting others is beneficial to more than just the globe. It gives you the ability to remember your own worth. Furthermore, it is not necessary for it to be large, public, or even organized. Even the tiniest of actions can sometimes bring about the most profound changes on the inside. This type of action is referred to as pro-social behavior by psychologists. And it has a strong connection to both purpose and emotional well-being. You stimulate regions of your brain that are connected with purpose and connection when you serve other people. Whether it is by offering your time, attention, or even simply your presence, you have a sense of being alive and useful. This sensation is more significant to a great number of retirees than any income they have ever received. There is no requirement for a committee or a title for the service. Perhaps a neighbor's dog is unable to walk, so you walk it for them. You might be the one who drives someone to their medical appointment or the one who sits next to a buddy as they wait for the results of a test. Do you bring soup to someone who is going through a difficult time? It is not charitable to do these things. They are acts of humanity that we all share. I'd like to tell you about Robert, who is 79 years old and has never considered himself to be the type of person who volunteers. However, after the death of his wife, he discovered that he had many long afternoons and an excessive amount of silence. One day, he was at the grocery store when he came across a leaflet that asked for assistance at the reading hour at the local library. He made the decision to appear. But only once. It has been 4 years since that happened. Every Tuesday, he spends 30 minutes reading to children. And he claims that this activity serves as a reminder to him that he still has something to offer. Furthermore, they serve as a reminder that I still have something to feel. That is the unassuming beauty of being of service. It forces you to go outside of your own thoughts and into the narrative of another person. The softness of your heart, the value of your presence, and the significance of your life are all maintained by it, simply because you are establishing a connection with them, and not because you are trying to save someone. Assuming you are unsure of where to begin, you should start with your circle. Is there someone who could benefit from your companionship? A means of transportation, a meal, or even just a check-in? You do not have to make anyone else's life better. Your only requirement is to show up. Once you have done so, you will observe that you no longer feel as disoriented as you did before. For the simple reason that assisting another person in regaining their footing frequently brings you back to your own. I would appreciate it if you could use the 6th comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Now, let's proceed with our plans. This brings us to the 7th point: avoiding passive consumption and maintaining mental engagement. There is a tendency to spend a significant portion of one's day engaging in passive consumption, which is one of the hidden risks associated with retirement. Whether it be watching non-stop television, skimming through the headlines, or simply allowing the hours to pass without any particular purpose, An excessive amount of downtime can gradually drain your mental energy and leave you feeling disconnected from life. Despite the fact that some downtime is required for good health, the retirees who avoid a sense of disorientation are the ones who continue to participate in activities and do not merely enjoy themselves. Maintaining an intellectually active lifestyle does not necessitate enrolling in a university or becoming proficient in a challenging subject. Simply said, it implies selecting activities that are stimulating to your mind rather than ones that are calming to it. Doing puzzles, reading a good book, keeping a journal of your thoughts, learning a new recipe, or viewing a documentary that provokes thought are all great ways to pass the time. You may keep your mind alert and your soul intrigued by making these decisions, which are quite minor but powerful. In the field of cognitive psychology, there is a concept known as neuroplasticity, which states that your brain will continue to develop and adapt even as you become older, provided that you continue to use it. Mental acuity, memory, and the ability to control one's emotions are all strengthened to a greater extent when one challenges their thinking further. In point of fact, research has demonstrated that mentally stimulated seniors enjoy less cognitive deterioration and report higher levels of life satisfaction than those who do not engage in such activities. I remember Ellen, who was 84 years old at the time, telling me that after she retired, she began a small notebook that she called Things I'm Still Learning. On a daily basis, she would scribble down one new thing, such as a word that she was unfamiliar with, a statement that she found interesting, or a bird that she observed in the backyard. That one little routine provided her with a feeling of advancement. She stated that the fact that I am older does not indicate that I have stagnated in my development. Currently, I am becoming more reserved when it comes to engagement. This is the kind that matters. This is not about demonstrating something to somebody. Giving nourishment to the part of you that still yearns for discovery, still yearns for creation, and still yearns for comprehension is the goal here. It is possible that an active habit will fill the heart and thoughts, while a passive habit may fill the time. The next time you find yourself reaching for the remote control more out of habit than out of excitement, you might want to consider breaking the routine a little bit. Do something that encourages you to think or feel instead of watching television for 30 minutes. It does not need to be complicated. All that is required is intention. Because every time you push your mind to its limits, you are strengthening your presence in the realm of the world. In addition, this is one of the most obvious indications that you are not lost. You continue to make the decision to be here. Create a weekly routine that you can look forward to, which is the 8th step. The fact that their days begin to seem the same is one of the reasons that many retirees have a sense of disorientation after they have reached retirement age. If there are no scheduled meetings, deadlines, or other regular occurrences, time may start to appear shapeless and like a continuous stretch of time without any breaks. However, those who are able to maintain their sense of purpose and groundedness after retirement frequently have a significant characteristic. By doing so, they establish a weekly pattern, which provides something to anticipate and something to rely on. It does not need to be particularly elaborate. Indeed, the less complicated anything is, the better it is. On a Friday, they might go for a stroll to the farmer's market. On Sunday, they might have lunch with an old acquaintance, or on Wednesday morning, they might have a cup of coffee at the same cafe where they take the newspaper and talk to the barista. It is not the magnitude of the event that is important. It is the significance that is inherent to it. When it comes to psychology, this is tied to a concept that academics refer to as anticipatory reward. When this occurs, it indicates that your brain is experiencing a good emotional lift even before the event actually starts. Just the knowledge that something enjoyable is on the horizon generates enthusiasm, helps you stay organized throughout the day, and provides the time in between a sense of purpose. It not only gives your week more structure, but it does so without requiring you to have a job or a crowded schedule. Try to think about it in this way. When children are aware of what is going to happen next, they flourish. Even adults do it, and so do we. Because of this pattern, One feels emotionally secure. It reminds you that your life still has a rhythm and pattern, even though you are the one who is currently creating it. And it makes you feel as like you have some degree of control over it. I once had a conversation with Leonard, who was 78 years old, and he shared with me his ritual on Tuesdays. Every single Tuesday, he would make a pot of homemade chili, watch an old Western movie, and phone his daughter who lived in Arizona. He never missed on any of these activities. It is straightforward, but it belongs to me, he said. My week is given a pulse as a result of this. What makes retirement feel less like drifting and more like living is that heartbeat. That tiny joy that is always there. And that consistent delight. If you've been having trouble keeping track of time recently, you might want to consider selecting just one activity to serve as the focal point of your week. Stick to something that is manageable and something that can be done repeatedly. As time passes, those seemingly little rituals start to take shape, resulting in a life that is once again consistent, personal, and full of vitality. The reason for this is that when you begin to anticipate something, even something that is very unremarkable, you begin to shape your future. And in doing so, you serve as a reminder to yourself that your days continue to have meaning, and that your presence continues to be significant. Nidhuvananthapuram concludes with some thoughts. As we come to the end of this film, I would like for you to pause for a moment of peaceful reflection. Which one of these 8 different routines resonated with you the most? Was it the concept of re-establishing a rhythm in your life? Another possibility is the idea of resuming an activity that you used to like much. There is a possibility that you have already been engaging in a number of these activities without being aware of how significant they are. On the other hand, perhaps this is the day that you realize that being retired does not mean that you are finished. All that it entails is that you will now be able to establish your own rules. When they retire, the majority of seniors do, in fact, experience a sense of disorientation. In no way is it a failure. Stepping away from decades of structure, identity, and momentum is a normal part of the process you are going through. What differentiates people who are unable to move forward from those who are successful is not age, talent, or financial status. We have an option. It is the intention. Determining to show up for yourself once more, even in the most insignificant of ways, is what it means. Because these straightforward routines that we discussed today are not considered to be chores. They are invitations to re-establish a connection with one another and to reclaim your life in a manner that is sincere and significant. So, what is one thing that you are going to experiment with this week? One minor adjustment that brings you from a state of wandering to one of choosing? I cannot wait to learn more about it. We appreciate you being here with us today. It would be wonderful if you could get in touch with us. Please leave a comment below and tell us about one item you discovered today and how you intend to put it to use in your life right now. We place a high value on your opinions, so please do not be reluctant to share them with us. Our inspiration and encouragement are greatly increased as a result of reading your remarks. I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it to be informative and enjoyable. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. We appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we hope to see you in the future video.